So this is our art studio. The studio is 2,200 square feet, and when the artists start, it's empty, and they get a shopping cart, and that's it. They have an empty shopping cart and 24-hour access to the public disposal area, or what you would consider the dump, and they get to work.
I think this is the perfect opportunity to create as much as I can in the 4 months that I'm here with everything that pretty much at my disposal, whatever I can carry in the red cart.
You acclimate so quickly to the amount of waste. I mean, look at this building. Look at all of this. When you first walk in, it's so shocking. To be around it every day, you kind of get caught up in this process of excavating these loads. There's always a trail. Seeing the photograph in the situation like this and just how this paints this portrait, you know, you see these family photographs next to the fountainhead, next to, you know, an old shoe even. You put it all together, it becomes an instant composition.
We were constantly getting hit with, oh, you have to upgrade, or you have to get the next thing, and where do the things go when you finish with them? And here we go. The collection of things allows for some kind of standing in society. It looks like it has mother of pearl.
Right now I'm going through the clothing only pile. There's guys on the floor who pull out this stuff for recycling or to send off to Goodwill. You can see there's kind of everything. Mementos from trips and 7 brand jeans. You know, $200 pair of jeans in here.
You see like antique furniture from the turn of the century to IKEA furniture. So those things collide in this space. They don't have a stratification anymore. They get leveled out to nil.
Tambourine, cards and shapes. I just think these objects paint such a realistic portrait of who we are, and so then when you see them scattered amongst the ruins here, it's hard to not think of them as dead, you know, whether they end up broken like this tape here, or whether they look brand new. It's always amazing when you find something that's untouched, never even opened. Nobody uses desk phones anymore. The more intact objects look in here, the more impermanent it seems, you know, because they've just been cast aside for reasons other than that they're broken or losing their functionality. So it really represents the cycle of life. Save the books! This is what I'm working on right now. This is a version of this book. Lots of books in the trash. I've been thinking a lot about obsolescence, like the newspaper or magazines or books that now lose their identity of form. So talking about the lightness and the weight of that, you know, we can kind of cast aside this like trusted friend. So I'm making this body of work about objects of our day-to-day life, mostly things that are disposable, specifically things that are starting to obsolesce. So most paper media, things like clocks, even what we think of as a traditional light bulb, which is being replaced with compact fluorescence, and so therefore changing shape in our life. So these things that we handle and touch and look at every day, but often overlook. All of the objects are based off of things that I've pulled out of the dump and then made from materials from the dump. Collecting fabric and thread and making these hand-sewn and hand-embroidered sculptures. I'm also trying to pull in ideas from traditional still lives, these Dutch and Flemish still lives, which are really about also the objects of our day-to-day life. So I'm incorporating other kind of signifiers from those paintings, so things like dying plants, and then I'm making some of these dead animals. So obviously the dump over there is really this graveyard to these objects, so thinking about life and death on a broader scale. Going for the big picture. Fabric was very easy to come by. You know, you think of all the forms of fiber that we cast aside, but thread was hard, but fortunately we hit the jackpot. One of the fellows, Bob, who works over there, must have come across this industrial sewing production waste.
By being here, we have an abundance of people's histories that have been discarded. So I'm working with fragments, antiques, furniture, and units that have been mass-produced. I'm creating these kind of sculptural skeletons that are in midst of transformation. It's about economics for me specifically. Well, I mean, my parents are migrant workers. They came into this country working in the field, so they're repositioning in the workforce to survive. And that constant movement of displacement and constant looking for work, those experiences have had a big impact on the way that my forms are maybe sort of falling apart, but I want to say that they're more in midst of finding their position in the world.
That up there is our employee sculpture garden. And so when folks find things and they think they're cool, they sit them up on the hilltop. Those figures at the very top, we think those came from the Wax Museum. So San Francisco, we're at 77% diversion, which is, I believe, higher than anyone else in the nation. Our goal is to reach zero waste.
Is that possible?
Well, I don't know. Theoretically, I don't know if it's possible, but we can get really close. We have a hazardous waste program where we accept all hazardous waste. Most of that's paint, latex paint. So they're picking up from residents. You guys picking up today?
Retail.
Oh, retail. And then they will open the cans, see what the cans look like. If they're reusable, then we'll give the cans away. And if I think the certain colors they mix into containers, and then they create 3 colors, and then we give it away to the public. And we have so much extra that we've sent it overseas to countries that use it to paint their schools and their police stations. This is the transfer station, and this is where all of our residential garbage residuals go before they go to the landfill. When we've done audits, we found that 1/3 of what's in there are still recyclables. Another third is compostable material. So really what's left is only 1/3 of the amount of garbage that we get in on a daily basis that should end up in the landfill. So this is our sculpture garden. All of the artwork here is made by former artists in residence like Lauren and Abel. So this is a Stella Kamini, and she works in fabrics. So it was very different and a real stretch for her to kind of work in metal. This is part of a meter of some sort. This came from a motorcycle probably. This looks like maybe a carburetor. This is a baseball bat, obviously horns of some sort.
This feels like archaeology.
It does, doesn't it? Urban archaeology. That was designed by one of our student artists, John Ralston, and it was a little shack that we now use as our tool shed. So the artists, often they'll say that they want to buy something, they'll ask for some glue or something, nuts and bolts, and our suggestion is just wait, wait a few days and see if it comes in, and it usually does come in. This is our latest piece. It's called Art House. It's called House. There's a chair, there's windows, but there's no way in or out.
So I guess they've shown that you can.
Pardon me?
I guess the artists have shown you can build an entire house from what you've.
Yeah, exactly. One of our artists was looking for a specific size nut and bolt, and he wanted to buy like 100 of them, and I said, just wait. And this elderly man had just cleaned out his entire tool shed and brought in stacked from the ground to here of these little, very well organized wooden plots of nuts and bolts. It was crazy. It was just like, it was so, he came back and he's like, you're not going to believe what happened. So really, if they often say if they visualize something that they want, they'll go out into the public disposal area and something similar will appear. So we have a separate program for students that are attending universities. So our current artist is Kaya Rainbolt. She works out of the shipping container.
I was just priming making this
locket thing. These were floorboards. This would be the part you'd walk on, and that was actually the underneath, which is kind of weird. And so I just cut it to use the design, like the pattern, to make the locket. There's a bunch more pieces in the back. There's like plywood, these are bed slats. This right here, it's a giant diamond post earring. So the show is called Upscale. It's kind of a joke. I mean, the scale is larger, but it's not upscale. It's made out of basically trash. So there's 3 pieces, that, a large locket, and then a pearl necklace out of toilet floats. So these would be the pearls. The toilet balls that go in your tank. I think they were changing out the toilets in an apartment complex, so I found a ton of these all at once and tried to get as many as I could before the guy came through with the front end loader.
So you really had to do some cleaning.
Oh yeah, I scrubbed them all I had a whole assembly line thing going on for a while. But, yeah.